Today I've got a really nice cardigan to show you and some really cool sewing aspects, a big mistake I made and how I fixed it. Sneak peek, keep watching.
Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the moon.
Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. Today I have some relaxed sewing to show you. I have needed a project to recover from making a lot of pants that I can't wear. Thank you so much for your lovely feedback on the Let's Sew Easy Pants mini series that I'm running. It is a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling to know that it is helping you, and I know that because of the comments you send me, and I am very grateful for your support, and I'm very happy to be doing this for you. Now back to what this video is about. Today is about the Boyfriend Cardigan from Love Notions Patterns, and today this pattern is the Feature Friday pattern, which means it's only $5. And it's not just the ladies' Boyfriend Cardigan, it's also the girls' version that is included in the sale. So both of these are exactly the same. The only difference is the sizing basically, but the style, the instructions, the way they're sewn is exactly the same. I really like the features of this cardigan. It's long line, sort of hits mid-thigh, can be finished with either a short collar that is super easy to sew or a hood. There are dropped shoulders with comfortable sleeves, not tight sleeves. There is lovely waist shaping on the side seams the way it's drafted, and there is a center back seam that also has some waist shaping, so yay for that. I'm always very happy to see shaping drafted into patterns. And then there's these little cute side vents there on the side. These are of course designed for knit fabrics, and depending on the type that you choose, the look it's going to have. So there's pretty much a huge variety of fabrics you could choose here. If you choose a lighter drapier one, it might hang longer, it'll just look looser. And if you choose something more structured, it might end up looking more like a coat, like a coatigan. And I've had experience with both types of fabric, so I'll talk to you about that in a second. For the ladies, this pattern is available from sizes extra small to 3XL, and that will go up to a bust of 49.5 and a hip of 51.5. Now, last year around October, this pattern was on sale and I filmed a full sew along, like from top to bottom, the whole thing. And it was aimed at those newer to sewing, beginner friendly. And in that opportunity, I made my niece a Boyfriend Cardigan. Because it was the same way it's made for the ladies version, it was easier for you to see on camera me sewing smaller pieces. So that's why I've done that. And it was also to have a gift for her to take for Christmas. And in that opportunity, she was 5 and I made her a size 8. Now I chose a larger size, I measured the pattern, I had her measurements. The fabric I chose for her was a pretty heavy sweatshirting French terry with low stretch. So not that much stretch there. There was some, but not, like stretchy fabric. And I love that fabric. It's gray, so it matches everything she can wear. And it was going to end up looking like a coat. And it totally does. I did the short collar for her. It looks nice and structured and looked quite elegant actually. And I have finally some pictures I can show you. When I did this sew along last year, I was here in Brazil, she was in Chile, but I have pictures, and just look at that collar, it's so cute. I saw her wearing her cardigan in the summer. She loves it. She looks extra cute, and I love that style for a girl. It's so nice. And up to size 16, I can make both of my nieces cardigans. My younger baby niece is almost 2, so she's almost fitting into the sizing. So it's really nice style to have. Love to make the hood. Now I wanted to make one for myself this time. I've chosen a sweater knit, pretty loosely woven, very lightweight, very appropriate for like spring, sort of autumn. I wouldn't say it's the warmest cardigan I've ever made. It's nice, especially for this weather here. It's hot. It was cold yesterday. Anyway, I chose that fabric. The look is different. It's softer, it's drapey, it hangs beautifully. I love how this looks on this light knit as well. The cardigan is easy to make. There's not many pattern pieces there, and what you're seeing on screen now are the pieces for the option with the hood. So you have a front and a back. The back is not cut on the fold. There is a center back seam with shaping, so it's not that you can put it on the fold, and I'm all for a center back seam with shaping. As I said before, there are hood pieces and pocket pieces and a sleeve. Very simple. Now, I did not have enough fabric to make a version with a hood, and I decided to do the short collar, the same type of cardigan I made my niece. And on the screen you can see a few pattern pieces, front, back, a sleeve, you know, the band that is not a band, actually it has a shape that becomes the short collar, and the pockets. And you can see on the corner there, you have to cut 2 of those pieces for the collar, for the short collar. What did I go ahead and do? I made a mistake. Well, I almost made a mistake. I did make a mistake, but it was like a partial mistake that had a turning point, sort of. So in Up Close and So Personal, you're going to see a variety of aspects about making my cardigan that are not really included in the sew along I made last year because it was a different fabric. These are based on this fabric I've chosen and just some different things I've made to adapt to the construction with this one, what my whoopsie was and how I fixed it. So let's hop into there. I was just finishing cutting my cardigan, all the pattern pieces. I had to shorten it by 2 inches to get the length out of my fabric. I had this piece of fabric there left over from one of the sides, and I have my collar piece there that's like a short collar for the cardigan. When you're working late and you're a bit distracted, also I placed my pattern piece like that so I couldn't see the writing on it, and I was about to cut it, and then I thought there's something odd, it's just something's not right, it looks really short. And I checked again and it says cut 2 on the fold. And I just have space for 1. I can't cut 2 on the fold. Look, I have a tiny bit left there, there's no way. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to opt out of this shape and everything and just cut 2, but not on the fold, and just get the width as much as I can from this piece, which means the band around the neck is going to be narrower. Unfortunately, I really like this feature and I loved it when I made it last year for my niece, but that's what I get for being distracted. Had I noticed before properly, I probably would have chosen another fabric, because there was no way I could get this piece twice, plus the sleeve, plus the front, plus the back. There's no way. I couldn't have made it with this amount of fabric. But I'm gonna have to just work with it and just create narrower bands. I'm gonna cut 2, but just along there as much as I can. I've cut my modified band. It's the same length as I would have needed. It's just gonna be super narrower than the original. It is still gonna have a center back seam like the original. It's just the same width all the way around. The original had a wider bit and then it went narrower. And I've got it folded here and it's going to be about 2 inches wide. I'm going to be sewing it to the cardigan with a very small seam allowance, 1/4 inch maybe. So it's going to be that wide. At least I can still get the cardigan. These are the shoulder seams there, and this fabric is super flimsy, super stretchy, and I don't want my shoulders deforming. So I've devised a way to stabilize that. I can't really fuse interfacing here. I don't trust it will stay stuck on there, fused on, so I'm not going to do that. What I've got here is just a piece of woven cotton, not on the bias, just straight. And I've just pressed it in half basically, like that. It's 3/8 of an inch, well actually 3/4, because 3/8 plus 3/8. Folded, and then I'm just gonna pin it along the edge right there, and the folded edge would be there, that would make it finish so it's not gonna fray, and the raw edge will be right there, and when it gets serged onto the cardigan shoulder seam, that raw edge will be finished and it won't fray. So it'll be super neat and it'll just keep these shoulders from stretching out of shape. Okay, here you can see it done. You can see I've serged the edge right there. So that prevented that raw edge from fraying, and it finishes the shoulder seam. And then I've just sewn my shoulder seam at 3/8 with a straight stitch. I don't need this to be stretching. And that catches that right there, and now I have stable shoulders and it looks pretty. I have to say this is added onto the back. So this is the front there, this is the back. When I press this seam, it's going to go towards the back and you won't even see that it's there. I mean, no one's going to see it anyway, but you know, it won't be visible. From a tiny scrap, I've decided to make a self belt for the cardigan. I've seen cardigans that have that. So it's just along the whole width of the fabric. You can see both selvages there and the fold. But I don't think that's enough length for my belt. So I've got a little piece from another area that I'm going to unite. It is a busy print. I don't think you'll be able to see that I've united it to just make the belt a bit longer. And then I've got a little piece that will be the loops that go on the side seams, and they're just 1.5 inches wide. And then I have 8 inches length there that I'm gonna just fold lengthwise, right sides together along, turn under and then cut in half, and that'll be one loop, and then that one will be the other one. This is 4 inches there along. When I fold it together and sew it, take away seam allowance, I'll probably end up with this same width, about 1.5 inches of finished width for this belt. This cardigan has vents on the side and it's perfect for doing mitered corners. So the hem allowance is 1 inch and the fold here on this vent is 1 inch. So when you want to do quick mitered corners without having to think too much, just take whatever your hem allowance is, and this one is, and just add them. So 1 inch and 1 inch, 1 + 1 is 2. So from the corner there, you measure 2 inches, and you put a dot there. From there to there, you measure 2 inches there, and then you just draw a line across diagonally and you form a little triangle. Now this method works if this is the same and that is the same, and it's the easiest way to do mitered corners. So then you just fold these on to themselves. So you get that dot and match it with the dot on the other side. Just make them be on top of each other. Right there, you can see they match. And you need serged edges before doing this, that's why they've already been serged. And then match this line there with that one there, and then just sew. So I've sewn that there, trim away, flip, and cute mitered corners every time. I've hand basted the hem at 1 inch, but I'm gonna sew at 3/4 so I don't catch the edge. And I've got my twin needle there that has 2 needles that are closer together at 2 millimeters, 3.5 stitch length. Now I'm getting to this bit there where I have the mitered corner, and when you're using twin needles, it's not that straightforward. You can't pivot, like you can't put the needles in there and pivot because there's 2 needles. So it has to be sort of done by eyeballing. I'm gonna measure there the 3/4 that I want to have over here, so I have an idea about where to just twist the fabric without keeping the needles inside the fabric. There, put a pin there. So I'm almost at the reference I put with a pin. Okay, so I have to just basically try not to move the fabric too much. There, so I've turned it to a different direction, but without pivoting because I can't leave the needles inside. It's never going to look as great as when you're sewing with 1 needle. So that's how that looks there and then there. So it's not, it's sort of like I've pivoted, but I haven't. I've just done it manually with the needle up. It's a little bit fiddly, but totally doable. So I'm sure some of the sewing aspects I've shown to you, you weren't expecting to see because they're not typical things that you see in sewing videos, but it is an integral part of how things are sewn. And these little tiny bits and bobs that I do, I like sharing them with you. about pivoting with twin needles, all that sort of weird stuff, and stabilizing shoulders. There are so many ways, and that is the way I came up with when I was making the cardigan with what I had on hand, you know. So I'll show you this inside out before I show you the fabric. You saw that I stabilized the shoulders with that just little piece of woven cotton fabric. It's very clean, nothing raw, and that seam has been pressed towards the back, so you don't even see that black fabric. And now I have really stable shoulders. This type of fabric would have just stretched out terribly. Yeah. Maybe if I was working with the fabric I used for my niece last year, which was lower stretch and more structured, I wouldn't have bothered to do this. But with this one, I couldn't, skip the step and not do it. You can see that the band I have put on here is narrower. So for the short collar, it would have been mega wide, and then it just folds over and creates that short collar look. And you can see that in the full sew along, of course, that I already have on the channel. I really, really, really wanted that short collar. I really like it, and I wanted to have it. But you can see that just being distracted and not looking at the pattern pieces with the attention that they deserved made me make that mistake. I placed all my pieces. I had everything on my fabric just right. I had little bits and bobs there around the fabric. But I was so happy with myself that I was going to get this cardigan. And when I'd finished cutting everything out, and when I realized I only had space for one of those short collar pieces, I was so distraught, because I knew I couldn't go and put like a contrast collar. I didn't have any fabric for that, and I didn't want to have a contrast collar with this fabric. I wanted it to be all the same. And I was just... Okay, so the pattern has an option, like a shortcut option in the instructions, that is just cutting the front piece, not putting on any band or collar or anything, just serging, folding under and sewing. So that is an option I think that could work with more structured fabrics, especially if you have a cover stitch machine. What would happen with that option though is that it's going to be more open. So it's not a cardigan that will meet in the middle at all, it will just fall more open. And I know a lot of cardigans are drafted to be like that. In my personal opinion, I prefer a cardigan that meets in the middle. It doesn't really have to cross over necessarily, but at least meet in the middle. So this option of just turning under, I know that was not an option I was willing to go for. So that's why you saw me looking at that fabric and just drafting a narrower band. I had enough to get the length that I needed for the band that goes around there. So I went with it, and those are decisions that I made on the go, totally unplanned. But once I figured out I had a solution that I still could have my cardigan with a band, it's just a relief, because I really wanted this cardigan. It's so nice. The original one would have added maybe an inch more. The pattern piece for the short collar is narrow at the bottom, and then it starts getting wider and wider and wider, and then it flips over, right? Once I got the band, folded it, sewed it on there with only 1/4 of an inch. I didn't want to lose much width of the band. It still has a nice finished width right there, 2 inches. And I think it's totally appropriate. It looks perfectly fine. I would have loved to have the short collar though, and I'm disappointed in myself because I would have chosen a different fabric. And I'll show you now the fabric I would have chosen. And I did look at it, and I actually had more of that fabric available. It's just that those geometric type diamond shapes, I thought about having to match the short collar, the band onto the front piece, and then I thought, no, I'm not in the right headspace. And that's the only reason I chose this fabric instead of the other one. I love this fabric. Leopard print is not my jam, especially if it's in those brown, like earthy tones. But this is gray and blue, so it's just different, and I love blue, as you know. I did make length adjustments to this pattern. Just as you know, I like to lower the bust point on my knit garments because I know it does affect the feet. The torso drafted for Love Notions pattern seems to be shorter than my torso. I am 3 inches taller than the drafted height for Love Notions. So I added an inch above, around my bust area. I added an inch there, but then at the shorten and lengthen line available on the hip area, I took away 3 inches. So if I added one here, took away 3, It basically means that this cardigan is 2 inches shorter than the original length. This is not a long cardigan, it's not short either. And this length here covers my bottom and it's perfect. This belt at the back, I never wanted the belt to like tie it up at the front at all, but I like the look of belts like this that are just tied up at the back. And also it gives you a little bit of waist shaping. If you did this with a cardigan that is more like boxy or like shapeless, and you added this feature, you immediately get some waist shaping at the back. This cardigan already has that waist shaping. Without the cardigan, without the belt on at the back or anything, it looks gorgeous. You know, it goes in at the back, goes in at the sides. Very, very nice. I love that it's drafted with those shaping features. I love that a lot. This is where I was trying to pivot my twin needle, that, you know, you can't pivot actually because you can't leave the needle in. So I've shown you how I've dealt with that to use the twin needle all around these vents. And mitered corners are always a good option. I love doing them. They don't take more than a few minutes to do. And it's just very, very easy math to do there. Like I've shown you, if you just keep it simple, don't think about it too much and just do it, you'll get nice mitered corners. Here's a sporty look of my cardigan, denim skirt, grey cardi, and some more sporty tight block heels. I like this length because the print is really busy. I wouldn't want to have like a cardigan in this busy print hitting lower. So that's why I shortened it, so it's just below the bottom there. I don't want it to be too close to the hem either. So this is a nice middle ground for a type cardigan like this. There you can see the little vents, super cute. I always love them. I added this fabric belt just to add something because I had a scrap. I sewed on the belt loops there by hand. I added them as decoration. I don't think I would want to tie this cardigan up in the front like ever, but I like the look of having the ties at the back. This cardigan does have waist shaping on the side seams, on the shape and on the center back seam. But if a cardigan doesn't, doing this little tie belt trick does sort of give some waist definition there as well. I really like it. Now, because I had to make these bands a little bit narrower, it doesn't exactly cover. Although this style is not the one that is meant to be like open like other cardigans. I always prefer the ones that meet more in the center. And even if my band is narrow, it still meets in the center, so I'm happy with that. Sleeves with a twin needle. I like the length. I didn't adjust for the length for my arms, so if you are shorter than me, you might find that the arms might end up being long on you, so just measure your sleeve. This has a drop shoulder there. That's where the seam is. My shoulder's there. This is the style for this cardigan and it fits really well. I don't find it creates excessive like volume under here, and also it helps that this fabric is super drapey and super appropriate. With a more structured fabric, I think you would see more folds in this area because of the dropped style. I really like this neckline. I think it's lying super flat, super nice. I actually do like the width of this band. I would have loved the short collar too, but as you saw, I didn't have enough fabric. But you know, it's still good. I still get a nice cardigan and it's nice and streamlined, and that V that this forms here is flattering, I find, for a larger bust. So I'm very happy. If you've been enjoying all this practical sewing content, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, tap on the bell so you don't miss out when new videos go up live. I have a blog post as well available about this pattern, my version and my niece's version. I love the pattern. I have to be really honest. It's one of the nicest cardigans I've made because of all that shaping. I love that. I love that a lot. And you know, if you want to try this pattern for yourself, or you have little girls around you that you sew for, you might want to get it for them as well. So if you like this cardigan, want to try it and also support me, you can use my affiliate link that is listed in the description box below, and I make a small commission from there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed sewing this very much. I actually enjoyed making a garment that I can wear, because this week I've just been making fake pants out of horrible muslin fabric that I'm not wearing. So this was awesome for me. Thank you so much for sharing my joy and watching my videos. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Ooh.